Please come to order. It's a beautiful rainy day here in Dallas. All of our court members are present. Our legal notices have been duly posted, and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And the bailiff will please open court.
All rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court, now in session for the November 2015 term. With the Honorable Judge Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience. It's my pleasure to introduce this morning Brother Patrick Bush. Brother Bush is the son of Miss Betty Bush, who is with us today. Miss Bush, would you say hi? Who recently retired from DISD after 45 years of service. He received a bachelor's degree in 1988 from Texas A&M. Brother Bush lives in DeSoto, Texas. He is the director of Cavern Heights Baptist Church Christian Education Ministry in Oak Cliff, and is also a member of their board of trustees. Brother Patrick Bush, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. May we bow. Our most precious Heavenly Father, bless Judge Jenkins, Dr. Garcia, and all the leaders and citizens gathered this morning in this fine assembly. Protestants, Catholics, Jews, and Gentiles, please be wise, be industrious, be steadfast, and be respectful to the ideals, goals, and needs of the residents of Dallas County. Always strive to do what is right and risk the consequences, and the Lord our God will provide you with the wisdom and understanding to succeed. This morning we ask a special prayer for President Obama and our world leaders, and for the victims of the horrific acts of terrorism around the world. In the name of Jesus the Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
All right, this morning I will present the Employees of the Month resolution. Will the following employees please come forward? Aaron Roush, the Chief Information Security Officer in the Information Technology. Micah Baker, Transportation Planner in Public Works. All right, yeah, let's give it up for these folks. Ruby Mayweather, Detention Officer in the Sheriff's Department. Ruby in the house or not? She may be detaining people. Oh, she is. All right, come on down. Don't be bashful. Thought maybe you were detained or detaining right now. Dania Beasley, the Property Tax Representative in the Tax Office. And Gilda Gordon, the Senior Accountant in the Treasurer's Office. All right, and I will read the resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas Dallas County employees are hardworking, dedicated, and play a vital role in achieving the goals and objectives set forth each year by the Commissioners Court. Most employees perform above expectations and ensure that Dallas County continues to be a regional leader and a destination of choice for residents and businesses. Whereas Dallas County Commissioners Court authorized the creation of an employee recognition program in 2012 to encourage recognition of dedicated employees who represent the best and the brightest of the workforce. And whereas the Dallas County Employee Recognition Program is consistent with the county's approved strategic vision of maintaining a strong and motivated Dallas County workforce. Specifically, the Dallas County workforce in many ways is the face of the county. It must be knowledgeable, able to provide the services for which people are hired, and dedicated to helping improve the system. These employees represent the exemplar employees Dallas hopes to recruit and retain. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby salute these employees for being selected as Employee of the Month in November 2015 for their respective departments, and offers best wishes for continued success in Dallas County, and I so move.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your service. If there's anything we're not doing to suit you, now's the time to tell us, or not. But thank y'all so much. God bless y'all.
Thank you.
All right, and our next resolution will be presented by Commissioner Daniel.
Well, good morning. It's always good to talk about the silver linings in the work that Dallas County does. So would Judge Callahan and persons from her court and the legacy please come forward? Come down here. I'm very proud to present this resolution, which starts out, whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court likes to take special notice whenever someone leads with vision and unwavering commitment to Dallas County families and residents. And whereas Judge Tina Callahan and Associate Judge Christine Colley of the 302nd Family District Court saw a way to improve the criminal justice system on behalf of families and children in Dallas County. One such improvement was to establish the Legacy Family Court, which was proposed to the Dallas County Commissioners Court and approved November 2011 and officially began operating in May 2012. And whereas the purpose of the Legacy Family Court of Dallas County is to bring families back together and help them achieve a new beginning and a sense of purpose by committing to supervised recovery and rehabilitation. Families who enter the Department of Families and Protective Services receive systematic support services with the ultimate goal of reunification with their children. And whereas the first participant of the Legacy Family Court was admitted in October 2012, to date, the Legacy Family Court has had a total of 24 participants and held 4 graduations, with 3 more graduations scheduled to take place in 2015. The Legacy Family Court is pleased that hard work and perseverance has resulted in 7 children reunited with their parents. And whereas in recognition of their efforts, Judge Tina Callahan and Associate Judge Christine Colley received the Agent of Change Award on behalf of the Legacy Family Court of Dallas County. This is an annual award presented from the Dallas Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse at its annual Power of Prevention Luncheon, which occurred on October 22nd, 2015. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court recognizes the dedicated staff, partners, and volunteers of the Legacy Family Court of Dallas County who continuously work to improve public welfare in the community. And congratulations to the participants of the Legacy Family Court for making a personal commitment and a decision to overcome adversity and addiction. May the Legacy Family Court of Dallas County continue to be an agent for change and the guiding light for children, parents, and families across Dallas County. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
And as I said, it's so good to be able to talk about the silver linings of what Dallas County does and does well, as in this particular case. None of us like to deal with some of the situations of kids and family that we have to deal with in our regular work. But there are a number of so many good, strong, smart people who, in fact, do take it that next step further and make the positive results come. So, Judge Callahan and Judge Colley, if you'd like to come forward and introduce the people that you brought with you and recognize because I think you've got a couple of the graduates here, don't you?
We do, actually. I'll let Judge Colley do the introduction, but I thought that you might want to see our very first graduate and our very last graduate who are here with their children, taxpayers of Dallas County, and are living the good life because of the what you guys started back in November of 2011, what you knew, what you trusted our vision, and this is the fruition of that, and we expect many more of these folks to be with you in the future. So Judge Colley, if you would do the introducing.
We brought a set of wonderful bookends with us today. We have our very first graduate from the Legacy Family Court Program, Ms. Mary Curry. And we have our most recent graduate from the Legacy Family Court Program, Ms. Brittany James. They are both shining examples of why we do what we do. This program is hard. It takes a long time. They both made it through it beautifully, and they're both clean and sober today, and they're raising their children, and that's the goal. So thank you very much.
Would you like to come up for a photo with the court? Celebrate this day, celebrate your recognitions and the awards that you have received.
Of course, we also have the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office. CASA works with us, all the partners here in Dallas County, the resources that we use to make this happen. So it's a celebration for them as well today.
It's when the system works.
Yeah, we like that part.
Yes, please.
Yes, either way. Yes, I think so. No, it's okay. Don't get scared.
Got her back.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm so glad you're here.
These are the good
Judge, thanks.
Okay, there we go. Picture time.
We won't go there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much.
And our next resolution will be presented by Commissioner Price.
Judge, Commissioners, this morning we're very pleased to support someone who's made it all the way to retirement, and so we'd ask her and her delegation to come forward. Ms. Patricia Diane Boyd, if she'll come forward with her delegation.
Brought the house.
Yeah. Make 25 years around here, that's where to bring the house with you.
Brought the house today.
Hey, staff.
Okay. And while they're all coming, and they just keep coming, and we're glad. We're glad. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes special notice when an individual has given long and faithful service to Dallas County, and whereas Patricia Diane Boyd was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, and after graduating from Anderson University in 1978, she moved to Dallas, Texas in the 1980 era. And whereas Patricia Diane Boyd began her career with Dallas County Juvenile Department on May the 24th, 1982, when she was hired as a group worker in the Juvenile Detention Center. She was promoted to the position of Field Probation Officer in the North Dallas Unit, and then promoted to Assistant District Supervisor in the Assessment East Unit in February 1995. She was quickly promoted to the District Supervisor position in the same unit in December 1995 until she was asked to assist in the implementation of the Specialty Unit in 2005. And whereas Patricia Diane Boyd was instrumental in the establishment and the expansion of the exemplary recognized sex offender and special needs unit She established working relationships with MetroCare and enhanced the special needs program with their collaboration. She has been a pioneer in the policy and procedure development for specialty units, including establishment the Front End Diversionary Initiative, the Mental Health Court, and promoting accountability for Stable Transition Program, also known as PASS. And whereas Patricia Diane Boyd is well known throughout the Juvenile Department for her passion of working with young people. She has represented the department at numerous speaking engagements and has been described as an assiduous and caring leader and enthusiast. She has stood as a strong advocate for youth with mental health disorders and partnered with the National Alliance of Mental Illness, also known as NAMI, to provide support services for families. She has been selected as Employee of the Month on 2 occasions, November 2006 and July 2010. She was also the Employee of the Year in 2006. Ms. Boyd was a recipient of the prestigious Lightner Sams Foundation Child Advocate Prism Award from the Mental Health America of Greater Dallas in 2013. And whereas Patricia Diane Boyd is married to Waver Denoise Boyd, also known as Dee, and they parented 2 children, Deanna Boyd and Trey Boyd, she has served her community as a Sunday school and kindergarten teacher before she began her career in criminal justice. She loves to read, and before injuring her back, she ran every morning. She loves going to the movies, doing little projects around the house. She has helped children of abuse and neglect enjoy quality time with their families by supervising visitation. Diane enjoys spending quality time with her grandson, Cameron Boyd. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize, congratulate, and commend Ms. Diane Boyd, a devoted employee, for her 33 and a half years of dynamic service to Dallas County and to the youth and the families of the Juvenile Department. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner. What you read is very accurate about Ms. Boyd, but what it does not capture is her spirit, her commitment to her team and the youth we serve. She deals with an extremely difficult population, our youth with mental health issues. They require a lot of service. Ms. Boyd has been a catalyst for working in the community to ensure this particular population, they have the services that they need for aftercare, because if we don't, we can treat them in our system and provide all those services, but until they get out of our system, that aftercare is a big component. As you can see by her team behind you, she is a special, very special leader in the field of mental health, special in a lot of ways, committed to the kids we serve, her team, her grandson is her pride and joy. So we are eternally grateful. She will be missed. She leaves extremely, extremely big footsteps to fill. That is a massive undertaking, as anyone who knows who works with kids with mental health issues. It's extremely challenging, and she's done it with grace and dignity, and our kids in Dallas County has benefited. We are eternally grateful for everything you've done for our department, and we would really like to acknowledge you in more than just this. So thank you so very much for all you've done.
And while she's coming, and before she speaks, one of the things I really want to say about that population and what we've learned throughout my probably 20 years on the juvenile board, you just can't deal with the recipient, the child. You have to treat the family. Because usually, unfortunately, there's collateral with regards to the family. And I think that's what we're speaking very boldly. I think in the olden days, we used to call them wraparound services. And but you've done it so well. Just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I've loved my job with the county, and it's so sad leaving, but it is time to leave. To be more time with my family. But leadership is about the people that are behind you, and that's what I want to say today. The people behind me are what's so great about our work, and they are the greatest people I've ever worked with in the county, and also my leadership, the people that taught me the skills that I have, the people that are with me today in my leadership, and the people that were before me that have already left the county in retirement, that have taught me as I've grown up with the department, and to the person I am today. I am so grateful and thankful for them. And these wonderful, wonderful people behind me, they work so hard and give so much to the youth and families they serve. And they're the ones that have made me look so good. They work so hard and give so much of their lives to the youth and families of Dallas County. So when you give applause, give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next three resolutions will be given by Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Josh. I am very excited, colleagues and members of the audience, about the next resolution. As the chair of the Dallas County DWI committee, this organization has continued to grow. And as we enter into the holiday season, awareness and education is something that all the public safety departments start looking for. The numbers have fluctuated from 2011 to 2014, but we have seen some reductions in the overall, number of crashes, DWI crashes. However, the fatalities have not reduced, so we still have a long way to go. So it's my pleasure today to read the DWI resolution. We will have the press conference tomorrow, and I'm going to ask Chief Dye, Grand Prairie Police Chief, and the task force, as well as the other organizations that will be there tomorrow. I know some of the sheriff department is here, the DAs is going to be as well with us. And for the first time, we will have 3 counties working together when it comes to working DWI. And that's going to be Dallas and Tarrant, that we've been doing it for the last year. And now we're going to have Denton County join us. So we have continued to grow, and I'm very excited to read this resolution that says, whereas the Dallas County DWI Task Force was established by Commissioner's Court in May of 1984 and was sponsored by Commissioner Chris Simos. It consists of various governmental communities, agencies, schools, and civil organizations concerned with DWI offenses. And whereas the DWI Task Force focuses primarily on public education and legislation, seeking support to pass laws and enforcement and prosecution of DWI violators. It works to be an active group advocating for responsible laws and actions dealing with underage drinking and driving while intoxicated. The DWI Task Force has also worked to increase communication and coordination between law enforcement, advocacy, mental health, and addiction rehabilitation organizations. And whereas on January 1st, 2011, Commissioner Elba Garcia became the chair of the DWI Task Force. Since then, the task force is represented by many advocacy, and enforcement organizations and departments such as the Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Community Supervision Corrections Department, Dallas County Public Defender's Office, the Dallas Police Department, the Irving Police Department, the Grand Prairie Police Department, Coppell Police Department, Rolette Police Department, many organizations like the Department of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Impact Grand Prairie, Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, District Attorney's Office, North Texas Tollway Authority, Parkland, and Recovery Healthcare, among many others. And whereas one of the major events that started in 2011 and has gradually grown is the annual Dallas County DWI Press Conference. The first DWI Press Conference was held in Irving in 2011 and 2012. In 2013, it was moved to Grand Prairie, joining for the first time Dallas and Tarrant counties. And whereas the success accomplished in joining forces with Tarrant County has encouraged us to expand our horizons and spread the message even further. For that reason, we are excited to announce that this year, for the first time, Denton County is joining this great effort. And whereas the 2015 DWI Press Conference will be hosted by the Grand Prairie Police Department, Chief Dye, and the Grand Prairie at the Grand Prairie Summit, located at 2975 Esplanade in Grand Prairie, Texas, on Wednesday, November 18 at 10 a.m., and that is tomorrow. Elected officials and representatives from all three counties, along with a DWI victim, will be part of this program. Visuals as a car wrecked actually during a DWI incident, a Texas Department of Transportation helicopter, as well as DWI simulators from AAA will be also present. This is a unique opportunity to learn, to prepare, and more importantly, to educate the Dallas County community about DWI. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court officially recognizes the DWI Task Force and its continued work to educate the citizens of Dallas County and other counties on DWI issues. And in the future, invites everyone to please join us tomorrow and bringing awareness to the residents in Dallas, Tarrant, and Denton County. And I so move.
And I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Chief Dye, and then Sheriff.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for this time this morning, and I want to applaud Dallas County for starting this task force back in 2011. As you can see, over the last 4 years, it's now grown to Tarrant and Denton counties. Commissioner Garcia, under her leadership, has really expanded the program, which not only educates the public, but has really served as the catalyst to bring more cohesion and collaboration between all of our law enforcement partners, both at the local level, the county level, as well as our DAs and our public advocacy groups. DWI is a serious problem. This task force is rendering tangible results in lowering the numbers of DWI. We have a long way to go, but this is a great first step, and it's a sustained effort. So, Dr. Garcia, I applaud your leadership, and I thank you for that. We are so honored to host in Grand Prairie. We hope you all can join us tomorrow. I want to thank all of my partners behind me, and especially recognize Grand Prairie Police Officer Greg Parker for all of his hard work in setting up the event tomorrow. So thank you for your efforts, and thank you all for your leadership. We appreciate it.
Correct the starting.
Education leads to prevention. First of all, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to make this public. And I say this every year. Every year we bring it out and bring it out and bring it out. But you know, if we can save a percentage of the people that would otherwise have gone and drank and drive, this is worth it. Texas is among the 10 top states for accidents with alcohol, deaths with alcohol. So obviously it's up to us to do something to bring that down. And again, it's been said that a person can hear something 7 times before it finally sinks in. How many times do we have to say it so we can save another life? Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Sheriff. Judge Hawk, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say that I'm thrilled, and our office is thrilled to be part of such a wonderful collaboration, be part of such a great group of leaders to promote this effort and support it in every way that we can.
Thank you. So I'll see you tomorrow. And just to clarify the record, the DWI task force was started by Commissioner Simmons in 1984. And it was a good friend and a great mentor. And it's always, great to see that his efforts continue to grow and they're bigger and better. So thank you all for being here. I invite everyone to join us tomorrow at the beautiful summit in Grand Prairie and, learn more about DWI. We'll have a lot of different vendors as well as organizations that are involved with us. So thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.
Judge Hall? Judge Hogg, if you could, just so they'll know, tell us what the range of punishment is for just a first offense DWI.
First offense, DWI is a Class B misdemeanor, so up to 180 days in the county jail.
And I've seen a billboard that it cost up to an average of over $10,000 in attorney's fees and time off work and fines and just licenses. So very serious matter for people, not just because they end up hurting people, but it's expensive. You can't afford it. So people, please don't drive drunk. That's why we've got Uber and Yellow Cab.
And like I said, I presided over a felony court for 11 years and had many individuals come in front of me, which, the third DWI, fourth DWI, fifth DWI, and the range of punishment is 2 to 10 years in the penitentiary. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you. And the message, as always, is if you're going to drink, don't drive. That's it. So thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hope you all can join us. The next resolution is also mine, Judge. And it's one of those resolutions, guys, that as a public servant, you just feel proud that you were able to serve and be involved with. And it's about the Grand Prairie Police Department Youth Boxing Program. And I know Chief Dye and some of the coaches of the program are here. And of course, one of our participants, that I got the opportunity to meet several months ago after she won one of her first tournaments. But anyway, I want to start by reading something really quick. I hope you indulge me on this. It's from Sergeant Alex Golovsky, who says that I'm always impressed by the good nature of all the participants in our boxing programs and the lengths that they go in taking care of themselves. You have no idea how many salads, bowls of fruit, chicken breast, and water I have seen them consume. Running every day and staying fit. They are respectful and polite to everyone they meet. Everywhere they go, they proudly wear their Grand Prairie Police Department Youth Boxing logo. And I assure you, they are outstanding ambassadors for the city of Grand Prairie, the police department, and their families. I am genuinely impressed by all their actions. When Chief Dye began this program, I did not realize the amount of positive results we will get. Everyone involved just does their best in everything they do. It's not just about boxing. So that is fantastic. And, let me go ahead and read the resolution, because this is one of those programs that really we're seeing the results, in just a few years. So it reads, whereas the Grand Prairie Police Department GPPD Youth Boxing Program initiated in 2012 after Chief Steve Dye approached the Grand Prairie Police Department with a vision of a boxing program. Whereas the GPPD Youth Boxing Program partnered with the Grand Prairie Independent School District to create a program that will guide the youth in the community, motivating them to become successful citizens by providing educational and social development activities and through training provided by police officers and volunteers in their role as coaches. And whereas the GPPD Youth Boxing Program is being supported with generous donations, both through services provided and cash donations. The superintendent of GPISD, Dr. Susan Hall, immediately came on board, providing a gymnasium at Houston Elementary School to serve as their boxing gym. All of the coaches who make up this amazing team are volunteers from the community who donate a tremendous amount of hours per week. And whereas the GPPD Youth Boxing Program is divided into two groups, the beginners and the advanced. The beginners work out and learn boxing basics until either show the aptitude or attitude to move up to the advanced level. Once they become advanced level boxers, they begin to spar and travel to local boxing tournaments. Whereas, any youth that resides in Grand Prairie or attend GPISD schools are eligible to join the program, free of charge, thanks to the support of the community, allowing youth to benefit tremendously from this program. One such individual that is here with us today is India Smith, and her coach, Sergeant Alex Bolosky, were honored by the White House as champions of change, as a great example of strengthening relationships between law enforcement and communities while enhancing public safety. And whereas the Grand Prairie Police Department Youth Boxing Program entered boxers in the 2013 and 2014 Golden Gloves and local tournaments in 2015, bringing back several trophies, including the first place team trophy. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby congratulates India Smith and Sergeant Alex Bolosky for their recognition at the White House and recognize the Grand Prairie Police Department Youth Boxing Program in Dallas County for mentoring the youth in Grand Prairie and empowering to be successful. And I so move.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I forgot to say any opposed, but there were none opposed. Unanimous. All right.
Chief Dye, would you please?
Thank you, Dr. Garcia, Judge, Commissioners. We are so excited about this program, and we appreciate the recognition. About 4.5 years ago, when I became chief in Grand Prairie, one of the things that I envisioned as a part of our community policing efforts was this boxing gym. And what we really wanted to accomplish is creating better relationships with our youth, mentoring our youth, so regardless of whether they become police officers, we can help them become civic-minded adults and understand public safety. This is much more than a boxing program. It's a leadership program. We help them set goals. We keep them accountable for their grades because there will be accountability in life. And just to give you some numbers, in the last 3 years since the program has been up and running, over 500 kids have gone through the program. We've gone to 86 championship bouts and have won 58 of those. And recently we were contacted by the White House, 7 programs from around the country, only 7 were chosen to be models for other police agencies across the United States. And our youth boxing program was one of the 7 chosen. So Sergeant Bolosky and India got to go to the White House and share what we built in Grand Prairie and to try to help other agencies do the same thing. So proud of these kids. We could not do what we do without our volunteer coaches. One of them is standing behind me, Gerardo Contreras. We could not do it without the public-private collaboration and partnerships. This is almost entirely funded out of our private sector. Dr. Garcia is very humble, and she's not going to tell you she was not only an original donor, but she is a sustaining donor to the program. So we're not taxing our city budgets when we do this. And thank you. Bottom line, with the school district, with our private sector, bottom line, if you want to get something done, you can get it done. You just have to want to get it done. And we've built this program at very low cost, and it's turning out good young people who are going to be successful in life who may not have had that opportunity otherwise. So thank you all for your support. Dr. Garcia, I tell you all the time, and I'll tell you again publicly, thank you for your undying support of this program. You see and understand the value, and the proof is in the numbers. These kids are graduating high school, they're going on to college, and one young lady that you're getting ready to hear from, not only has she graduated high school, she has now entered our GPPD Public Safety Officer program. She's one of our interns. She gets paid for working part-time, and we're paying her first 2 years of college to help her bridge that gap and get her education. elected officials in Grand Prairie for helping us come up with this program to help these kids get that college education and ultimately, in India's case, try to become police officers in our city. So I'm going to let India say a few words, and then I would like for Sergeant Boloski to say a few words. Thank you all for the time this morning. We appreciate it.
India.
Good morning, India. Or Chin, I thought she was saying.
She is a strong fighter, Judge.
When I first started working out at the gym, I did not expect to go as far as I did. I was able to go to the White House, which was completely, it was crazy. I got to meet the vice president. I've been to national tournaments, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things without going through the boxing program. And they've become a family to me. The police department, the coaches, just everyone's just been so great to me, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
India, your mom is here as well, right?
Ms. Smith, come on up. She's not going to tell you this, but not only is she in her PSO uniform, but India is a nationally ranked fighter in her female age group. She's nationally ranked, so she's very good at boxing. Sergeant Boloski?
I was just amazed at how easy this program started. Once we got the word out and people knew it was there, we had volunteer coaches come to us. The parents started showing up and hanging out with the family. And Doc, I know I wrote that down one time that on one of the documents that it's not about boxing, and it really isn't. The benefits we've gotten out of it have just been tremendous. 30 years of being a policeman tearing up uniforms, I never got to the White House. This program really made a difference, and it really did. And if we can get one or two of these kids to be talking to their friends, and somebody says, I hate the police. And some kid goes, hey, wait a minute, man, they took pretty good care of me. I went to Chattanooga, Tennessee to a tournament. I went to Colorado Springs to a tournament. And then we have boxing night at the gym. If we can get that little bit of change going, that's really going to make a long-term difference. And it's been a great program. You've been our longest and greatest supporter. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sergeant Coach Contreras. Just say hello to Monica and Hector and all our winners, which I get pictures, guys, every other month about, how the guys are doing. And it couldn't happen without all of you working together. Mrs. Smith, congratulations. I'm looking forward to the next parties when I get to know all the parents. So it's great. It's a great program. And thank you, Chief Dye, and thank you all for being here this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our last resolution is not going to be, is going to be presented at a later date, colleagues. It's a resolution for 29 pieces. I'm pretty sure most of you are very well based about the organization. It's a Dallas-based nonprofit, which, is involved with youth and art. And they are based now in Oak Cliff on Jefferson Street, and they're celebrating the 10-year anniversary. And I'm just going to ask, to move the resolution. It will be presented on November the 19th at their 10th anniversary celebration. So I move for approval of the resolution. You all have it in your agenda.
I properly second it.
All those in
Great
favor
program.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, and this concludes our resolutions for today. We'll now have a presentation from the District Attorney's Office. Judge Hawk or whoever's going to lead. Ms. Madsen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Judge Jenkins, we want to thank you for this opportunity to present. Here on behalf of the Dallas District Attorney's Office is our elected District Attorney, Judge Susan Hawk, our administrative attorney, Kendall Costello, and Carmen White, who is our new head of the mental health unit.
Welcome, Carmen.
The goal of today's presentation is to request some staff changes for our Reformative Justice Unit and to acknowledge the Reformative Justice Unit's two new initiatives. The goal of our Reformative Justice Unit is a comprehensive diversion program that identifies offenders early intervenes proactively, and provides goal-oriented diversion. In order to do that, we have taken a look at our staff, what we currently had, and realized that with the structure and the staffing we had, we weren't equipped to do the job we wanted to do. We weren't equipped to identify those people, intervene, and then make lasting changes. So with that in mind, our presentation shows the current staffing. To the left, you'll see the diversion program. It encompasses our Attorney 5, which is paid through our memo fund for mental health. The attorney, I'm sorry, this is for what we are proposing. And then it says an Attorney 5 paid through the memo fund to handle another diversion program. And then we have 3 Attorney 2s. These are entry-level positions. These are the ones that we're targeting and realizing this does not equip us to do the job we want to do. An investigator, which we currently don't have staffed, and a community relations manager. In looking at that staffing, we realized that these positions don't provide the level of expertise or the structure that we need in order to make this program succeed. On the right side, you'll see the mental health. This year, you have given us some more mental health positions, and you've reclassified them at a higher level. Realizing that that was one of the keys to our success, that is where we turned our attention to our diversion program and realized that we really needed to step up and reclassify those positions. So if we'll go to the next slide. With our current MOU budget, we have 5 attorneys, 1 investigator, and a community relations person. We would like to use this chance to restructure it, get an Attorney 6, cut down the 3 Attorney 2s, and then do an Attorney 3. The point of this is that with the Attorney 6, we want somebody that supervises the diversion program overall. We want somebody that is accountable for all of the different tracks. We intend to create 2 new diversion programs, and we want all of the diversion programs to work together, not interfere with each other, not overlap, and we want somebody that's going to be accountable for measuring their success. So we're asking you to have an Attorney 6 that can oversee that entire program. Additionally, in order for any of these programs to be successful, there is one key component that we haven't been looking at. When somebody successfully completes a diversion program, one of the most important things that is offered is an immediate expunction. That means that it's taken off their criminal history. That means that if somebody is completing this diversion program, graduating successfully, it is taken off their record. Currently, we don't have anybody who automatically does that for any of our programs. If somebody successfully completes a diversion program, then they must go and hire an attorney, file the proper paperwork, and go through all of those hurdles in order to get it taken off their record. Many of those offenders do not know that they need to do this, do not have the money to fund that, and so those expunctions are an unopen avenue of letting those people be successful post-diversion. With that in mind, that's why we asked the court to fund an Attorney 3 spot. That Attorney 3 spot would go to the appellate attorney, and that attorney would follow up on our diversion programs and process immediate expunctions. Therefore, when somebody graduates successfully, we truly are giving them a second chance in the community, a second chance for employment, and a second chance for success.
So unlike the conditional release, the difference is this is expunction?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Price, you're exactly right. We currently have a conditional dismissal docket that runs through. A conditional dismissal docket is not eligible for an immediate expunction. There are provisions where we possibly could agree to expunction, but it's a case-by-case analysis. Under our law, if somebody graduates a diversion program, they are entitled to an immediate expunction. Knowing that, we need to equip our system to go ahead and give that to them and honor the agreement that the law makes. So with that in mind, I would like to talk about the two, if we'll go to the next slide. The 2 changes, the main changes we have is we have removed the Attorney 2 spots. The Attorney 2 spots are typically entry-level attorneys. Within our office, that's somebody that has about 6 months experience. That is not an attorney that is going to be able to make the tough calls required.
Stop and help you with something real fast. This slide's a little bit misleading because it's not that you're asking for $629,000 in new dollars. This is a transfer of some money that's already being spent to a different.
From 723.
Yeah, so just.
There's already an appropriation.
Everyone, you're not asking for $650,000. You're asking for less than $100,000, I think.
No, sir.
No, that's right, they're saving money. It's 723,000 and 620, yeah. they're
Yes,
saving.
sir. And I'll take it from your cue that I could do a better job summarizing this. Essentially, what we have in place right now is there are 5 attorneys, 1 investigator, and a community relations officer. We are not even staffing 3 of those positions because we just don't have the appropriate work for them. They're empty positions. So what we would like to do is restructure with 4 attorneys, a part-time investigator, and 2 probation officers. When we do this, we end up spending less money and we are achieving our goals. With those goals being in mind, 2 things that we're doing is that we'd like to launch 2 diversion programs. We've targeted 2 areas of the population that are vulnerable. Now I'm on the right track, I guess. 2 areas of the population that are vulnerable: young offenders and those that have been diagnosed with mental health. Well, our young offender program is going to be called AIM. It stands for Achieve, Inspire, Motivate. This program is going to be focusing on education and job skills. It's going to be applying to those that are 17 to 24 years of age, and we are going to do interventions that model what is set forth by Drug Corp. We are going to hopefully get them equipped to have education and a job skill so that when they graduate and have a clean record, they go out and become productive members of society. The other program is called SET, and if you'll go back. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I understand that this flow chart is overwhelming, and I will submit to the court that it is a work in progress, but the importance of how complex it is an intentional and thoughtful way that we can use all of the resources that are available in the criminal justice unit. It's all of the people that play a key part in making our criminal justice system successful. This flow chart takes into account those positions that you have just given us in the budget cycle for mental health. It acknowledges that there are going to be those that have been diagnosed with mental health that are appropriate for diversion. There are those that are diagnosed with mental health that are only appropriate for conditional dismissal. And then there are those that have been diagnosed with mental health whose cases are so severe, violent, that they are such a threat to our community that the appropriate sentence is penitentiary time. The way we're currently set up, we are getting referrals for mental health defendants anywhere from 6 to 9 months after indictment. This system is by no way early intervention. We can do better, we should do better, and we intend to do better. That is why this flow chart is so important. If you'll take a look at this, we are taking referrals and starting to work on those cases and identify those that have been diagnosed with mental health pre-indictment. Once they are diagnosed with, or we have flagged them as a mental health, then we begin to assign them to that unit. We began to gather all of the records appropriate, analyze the case, and come up with a treatment plan. If that person is not appropriate for the jail, we would ask that they be released with a treatment care package. We ask that they have a treatment care package that is going to be the early intervention that's going to be key to their success. We are asking our prosecutors to work fast, to work early, and to work aggressively to have an idea of what is appropriate for this offender. We have to balance the needs of the community, the safety of the community, and the needs of this offender. And it is only through taking a look at our own system and moving up our timetable that we're going to be successful. So with that in mind, I would submit to you that 2 of your resolutions have acknowledged the efforts in family court and juvenile with mental health. It is far too long that we have let it linger within our district attorney's office without coming up with a comprehensive and mind-boggling flow chart for you.
I've spent some time with Ms. White and with, I know the Judge Hawk and Ms. Richardson who spent some time. I still said the budget, you know, the only way your program, and I know you're designing what you think is the front end of the program, The only way your program is going to have success is to make sure that the balance on the other side, public defender, has reasonable success as well. And the conditional dismissal program is already kind of in play. And some versions of the SET program, Judge Hawk, having been on the bench, had a program similarly reflective, and she seems to have placed it on, steroids, enhanced it. I guess, my concern is, and still is, and Ms. Richardson has tried to allay my fears. I'm still having a problem with the calculations, and that's what I said to Judge Hawk earlier, with regards to the number of staff you have appropriated to the program versus what the Public Defender's Office has appropriated to the program. And that gives me some pause because it creates funnel. And, what happens to funnel is fine, but it's down here that we've got to deal with.
And you did funnel that to me, and as always, the Budget Office will be monitoring this change in this program. This does not overall increase the number of cases being filed. It does not overall increase the number of cases the PD's hearing or the private attorneys are hearing. It may change the overall where they're going, and that's the type of thing we'll monitor. And we all know that Lynn Richardson stays on top of this very closely, and if she needs additional resources, she will certainly come forth and request them.
Oh, that's what I wanted you to say.
Yes.
Because then the other piece of this is that recognizing, looking at your flow chart, there are so many other groups, organizations, in Dallas County internal pieces that I know that, and you've assured us that communication will be continuing so that in fact there can be that proper interface between the legal and the mental health at appropriate times, protecting the client, but then also moving it forward. Is that?
Daniel, I would submit to you that there are some extremely intelligent people who have been giving thought to this for a long time. We attend those meetings. We intend to continue to collaborate with them. There are people such as pretrial release, the public defenders, and probation who are going to be key to the success of this program. Criminal justice
and the mental health piece.
Mental health.
I see Ms. White is shaking her head. Thank you very much.
We do intend to follow up.
I just wanted to say that publicly, so
Yes,
we
ma'am.
all know that we're on the same page on that.
Go ahead.
And I just want to say, I think it's a great initiative. Hey, we've been doing it the same way for a long time. It's always thinking out of the box, sometimes the most effective programs. I think Commissioner Price and Commissioner Daniels have already indicated that it's a good savings. We have to be sure that the money, if it's necessary, allocated to one of the positions, that will make the difference. So, but with that, I did talk to Mr. Costello about it, saying that I'm excited about trying something new. Judge Hawk, thank you for being here. Hey, the timeline will say, and I understand your timeline is about a year or so?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we look forward to a year from now to hear the results.
Great job. No, I want to commend you. I appreciate the heart behind this. I appreciate, we're all dealing with, we're going to deal with ban the box here in a few minutes, and we're dealing with 30 years of policy of locking people up many times because they've got addiction problems or mental health care problems, locking people up that we could have rehabilitated and kept with their family and kept as members of society. And so you're on the right track here. And one thing that the flow chart, it's hard to get all that stuff onto that one flow chart, but the goal of the program, as it's been explained to me by the DA's office, is to get the bulk of the people that go into this program into diversion and into conditional release and not into those two boxes at the bottom of a plea bargain or going to the pen. And so that's going to be a great thing because much of the time it's the same people cycling through our system who need services more than they need short-term stays in jail to go back to committing crimes when they get out. So thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
And that takes us to our consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. We'll now consider court orders.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, we'll now consider court orders J1 through 51, pulling court orders 11 and 24 for separate votes, and pulling court order 23 for executive session. Is there a motion on that?
We pulling the addendum.
Oh, I don't, yes, I'm sorry. So I need a motion on J1 through J51 and addendum 52.
So moved.
Pulling 11 and 24 for separate vote and 23 for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Just one moment.
All right.
Just one moment.
I'm watching the screen for you.
Next one is 11, 23, and 24.
Yes, 11, 23, and 24.
And we had a motion by Commissioner.
Daniel, seconded by
By
Commissioner
Commissioner
Garcia.
Garcia.
No, wait, I'll fix it, it's okay. Now, wait a second. Okay.
All set. All right, and any discussion on these matters?
I just want to make some comments, Judge, on item number 9 is the appointments from District 4 for the Citizen Election Advisory Committee, and I see right here the chair, National Past President of LULAC, Ms. Hector Flores, and I believe I also see Ms. Hilda Duarte here. I will ask them to stand up and be recognized. Thank you for your service to Dallas County. Thank you.
Walk for the record, and I know Mr. Thompson has already looked at it, but on court orders 20 and 21, you have reassured me that it is correct as presented.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
The document is only for one agency, and so the document that's in our briefing, that's a public record, is correct, yes.
Okay.
And also, item 16 is the free flu shots. We're excited about that. Dallas County is going to have free flu shots, adults and children, to all uninsured and low income, and that is...
Every year, we realize that enough Dallas County residents have not gotten their flu shots to date, and so last year we had 19 flu-related deaths, so now's the time to get your flu shots. You can't be free.
And do we have the mist for the children or just the
We
shot?
got everything like we do every year.
Adult and children,
Adults,
and
children.
where can they go, Mr. Thompson?
Dallas County Health and Human Services, 2377 North Stemmons Freeway, and other outlying clinics, and we're ready to go, and we start today. We look forward to everybody showing up.
And we
From
have
8 a.m.
8 to 4 p.m.
8 to 4.
Yep.
And you have plenty of supplies on.
We have no issues with supplies, no issues with vaccine. We're on target as we are every year for the last 20 years.
So as the Baptists say, see here is much water. What doth hindereth you from becoming baptized? What doth hindereth you from getting your flu shot?
I don't know what the Baptists say, but they need to come early before we run out.
Not exactly the same time, but okay, Josh, we get it. What's a hatchet?
No excuses, y'all. Get those flu shots. All right.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you,
comments on
Mr.
that?
Thompson.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a little observation on court order number 22. It's a partnership with DART. And it's sometimes those little items, and in that kind of a partnership, that makes all of our lives just a little bit easier on our employees, that they are able to get DART use DART to get to work. But then we also receive a lot of the DART help for a lot of our other programs, and that's former inmates and just a variety of programs that we use. So those kinds of partnerships just make things easier. So hats off to DART and for Dallas County for recognizing that.
Call the question.
All right, and no further comments, questions been called, no further comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Also, I forgot to mention, Mr. Brian McGovern is here as well, the other appointee to the elections,
Right.
advertising. Thank you, Mr. McGovern. My oversight, I did not see you.
Court Order 11 is before us, and I so move.
Second. All right, and Darrell, could you please lay out the status of where we are, and we have a speaker on that.
You have a speaker on this item. This is the contract with the Dallas County Historical Foundation. We approached Ms. Longford about the possibility of doing a one-year contract, being that we are in the process of a major capital renovation program, which would probably empty out space in this building within a year or so of planning. In about a year or so, we would be revisiting this contract. Ms. Longford did share with me last night that she did not think a one-year contract would be feasible for her, so she would like to move forward with the presentation as.
But Mr. Martin, in all fairness, the original was not a one-year contract.
The original is not.
That's
the original was not, and the current one is not. The current one is a 15-year contract with 3 5-year extensions.
But
yes.
I'm just making sure from the presentation, the original, it never was anticipated.
It was not.
Okay.
It was not.
And currently it's the 5-year contract, right? What we're looking at today.
No, what you're looking at today is a
you're looking at
15-year
15-year
contract with 3 5-year extensions.
That's right.
That's what you're
Which
looking at
is
today.
the same timeline that they had the last contract, right?
Correct.
Right. But
So if we could have the bailiff read the rules of decorum for our public speaker, we'll hear from the speaker on that matter. And then as speakers come up on matters, we'll hear from them. At the conclusion of court, for those who are speaking on matters that are not before our court, that will be when we will hear from you. So go ahead and read the rules of decorum.
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The maximum discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
Right, and our speaker on this matter is Ms. Nicola Longford. Longford, please state your name and address. You'll see above me where the picture is. It will switch to looking like a traffic light. Green means begin, and when you begin, it'll be green. When you have 30 seconds left, it'll be yellow, and when it's time to stop, it'll be red. If you don't see it, I'll remind you, and just finish your sentence when I remind you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nicola Longford. I'm the Executive Director of the Sixth Floor Museum, and I work here at the site of 411 Elm Street, and I have board member Agustina Halomo with me. Good morning, and thank you, Commissioners, Judge, and the Court. Thank you for allowing the Sixth Floor Museum to take this opportunity to thank Dallas County for supporting a long-standing 28-year historical partnership. And what was known in 1989 as the Sixth Floor Exhibit has successfully grown over the decades into an acclaimed national and international museum. Today, the museum attracts an average of over 350,000 visitors annually to Dallas, to this museum, and 40% of our guests are Texans. Most of our museum's collections and oral histories have also been donated by Dallasites and Dallas County residents. Our shared story inside this building is as much a Dallas story as it is a national one. Dallas needs to embrace this history and the museum's role in telling it. The Sixth Floor Museum would not have become what it is today without Dallas County's initial support and its assistance birthing us back in the late 1980s. You have watched us grow and flourish into one of the most highly respected sites in the museum, in our nation. And as you know, the Dallas County Historical Foundation, doing business as the Sixth Floor Museum at Dealey Plaza, is a nonprofit organization. Nonprofits, as a rule, function with two sources of income, earned and contributed revenue. All of the earned revenue that the Sixth Floor Museum receives, primarily from ticket sales, goes directly back into the museum's daily operations and programming and into capital improvements, except for the portion that the museum remits back to Dallas County. The other source of revenue that nonprofits receive is contributed income. But for the Sixth Floor Museum, this is a work in progress. But I'm really happy to say that we are steadily garnering support from federal, state, and local sources, which we did not have a few years ago. The Sixth Floor Museum is eager to update the terms of our management agreement with Dallas County and hopes that the new terms would reflect a fair, long-term arrangement which provide us with the real ability to seek and secure local community and outside support to grow our programming and educational outreach initiatives and to help make vital infrastructural improvements so we can better serve our visitors and local constituents. Contrary to recent news reports, the Sixth Floor Museum is not subsidized by Dallas County. We are not a burden to Dallas County, but a historical and cultural asset. We pay our rent and our utilities. We also manage a parking lot exclusively for Dallas County officials and court employees at the museum's expense. We have invested close to $12 million in capital improvements over the last 27 years. The Sixth Floor Museum cannot adequately fulfill its mission to chronicle the story of the assassination of President Kennedy, his life, death, and legacy, and the lasting impact it has today and will continue to have on future generations to come without Dallas County's continued collaboration. Any significant rent increases would have to be paid from funds coming from admission fees. And at this time, in the absence of any substantial private, public, or individual support, the museum would be unable to keep its doors open.
Thank you, Ms. Long.
Wait, my permission to extend.
All right.
I want her to conclude.
Thank you.
Go ahead and finish your.
We invite Dallas County to join the Sixth Floor Museum as a much-needed community partner to help build an operational and fundraiser capacity that we must achieve to chart our next life cycle, which we hope to include consolidating our functions and expanding inside this very building. I respectfully appeal to your sense of philanthropy to get the Sixth Floor Museum and Dallas County out of this recent management agreement impasse so we may jointly contribute to the greater good of Dallas community, as well as continuing to support Dallas's expanding cultural tourism market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Long.
Thank you. And I want to recognize Mr. Agustin Halomo, our District 4 representative.
For coming and thank you for your voice.
Ms. Langford. Ms. Langford. There's a couple of us that have been around here long enough to say, I just want to thank you for your leadership. Even though we appoint a board to make decisions, I've watched over the last 30 years and watched the leadership come and go. In your presentation, you just talked about the acquisition of funds that historically were not in your pipeline, and that has a lot to do with your leadership. And so I want to thank you for that leadership, and thank you on behalf of the citizens of Dallas County.
Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. Thank you.
I also wanted to note, as well, thank you as well, Ms. Langford, but also you mentioned that, it's the stability of the museum that was allowed you to get some of the money Commissioner Price is just mentioned. So can you just elaborate a little bit more? In a shorter contract, this funding could be jeopardized?
Yes, most nonprofits cannot operate under a one-year contract. It would raise questions with our auditors. It would. We have contractual arrangements that we would not be able to secure or fulfill under a one-year contract. We have many multi-year contracts already in place, so it is not good business.
Well, let me ask you about that, because I don't think anyone up here or anyone with staff is saying that they're contemplating anything but the Sixth Floor Museum being in the location that it's in and doing all the activities that they do now, we're simply, the taxpayers are spending, what, Daryl, $1 million on the space allocation study? We're simply asking that since the taxpayers are spending $1 million of their money to look at what we're doing with the old red space, the space in this building, which there could be a good win-win for the museum as we look at the space in this building, and the $100 million around renovation of the records building, we're asking for time to get that information back before entering into a long-term deal with you. Now, understanding that we're making the assurance no one is interested in kicking the sixth floor museum out or restricting their space or taking back some of their space or restricting their ability, their operating hours or their ability to use parking lots, etc. Can you expound on how it would be it clearly is, we wouldn't be asking you if we didn't think it was in the taxpayers' best interest to get the information back. So how is it hurting the museum for us to do that before entering into a 15-year contract with you?
Well, with all due respect, we've complied with all the requests from Dallas County with a change in terms of our agreement, and so we've worked jointly for many months, if not over a year, knowing that this was coming, and to have the sudden change is very perplexing. And
well, not only that, we've definitely increased your rent substantially, number one, and we pretty much have gone along with that agreement. You've gone along with that agreement.
Yes.
And
well, we actually are not increasing their rent, Commissioner. Their rent last year was $224,000 all in. Their rent next year will be $210,000 all in.
No,
so that is a $14,000 decrease.
No. Overall, is it, Ryan, am I correct? Is it at the end of the day?
In the structure of the contract, the term rent would refer to what they pay on a rental for just the space. There is an increase in that particular portion.
And all in.
In terms of the contract, do decrease the commissions on the store sales, so actually remove it, so it does actually depend upon what you consider the store sales going to be and the audio sales. It should be virtually a wash over a period of time.
Or a loss, or savings to the museum.
If you average the 3 years' revenues on that, it's going to be a wash. It's between a $13,000 gain to a $13,000 loss.
I would like to say that most nonprofit museums rely on contributed revenue. Most museums would not even be able to operate without some form of contributed revenue, especially from a local entity. And I would like to suggest that you look at the City of Dallas's agreement with all the other cultural organizations that do not have to pay what we pay.
Well, thank you, Ms. Longford, and let's discuss this contract, and I've got some comments on the contract.
Go for it.
Okay. So,
Also, Judge, we made it clear, though, that I've had a conversation with Ms. Longford that should we vacate the space, they would be very much interested in the space. I think we'd be interested in them having the space. So it looks like, whether we enter this agreement or not, in the next couple of years, we'll be looking at this agreement again, either way.
well, my concerns are this is part of a broader context. We've got Old Red, so we're currently, in my view, subsidizing at least 2 museums. I asked CBRE to look at office space and what office space is renting for downtown. You have Class A office space, Class B office space, and Class C office space. C is the cheapest one. Treating this as C office space and not charging any sort of a bonus for its historical significance or anything else, the average of that is $1,571 a foot, which would bring the rent for all of the space to $523,000 a year. The rent for this space currently is $224,000 a year. Under the new agreement, it will be $210,000 a year without any cost escalator for the trajectory of the neighborhood. The belief of the commercial development community and CBRE is that this is a neighborhood, because of the substantial commitment of resources to the Convention Center Omni area, the Uptown area, and the building that we're seeing here, plus the taxpayers' commitment of what looks to be in excess of $100 million to redo buildings that the county owns, that we may see an increase in rental rates in this area. And so if we're poised to enter into a 15-year agreement without our space allocation study being back to subsidize this profitable museum that in their audit report for last year had an excess, an ending balance that was $1.2 million higher than their beginning balance. And I had that looked at by independent financial. Budgets can be what budgets are. We can project our budgets, but the audit numbers are the ones that we have to turn in. And so we got a profitable museum. I believe this museum is profitable, and kudos to you for your leadership in making it so. Unfortunately, we have another partner that is not profitable at present. And just as you would disagree with the independent analysis that from CBRE that your rents should be that rental rates are higher than what you're paying, they would disagree that they're not profitable, but nonetheless they're unable to meet their obligations. And we find ourselves inextricably intertwined with both. And so, and I'm a supporter of the Sixth Floor Museum and Ole Red. I think they're both great. So I'm not anti either, but I'd like to look at this holistically, because I think what we do with one of these subsidized entities necessarily will likely be used by the other to say, if you're going to subsidize a profitable agency, you should certainly subsidize us because we need the help. And I'm not sure until we get our space allocation study back and the public has a chance to actually look at those things, what they're going to want done. As Nicola points out, or Ms. Longford points out, there is a history of government agencies subsidizing the arts. And we subsidize things. We subsidize trails. And for instance, today we talked about we're subsidizing flu shots for people who can't afford flu shots. So it may be that this is something that it's the will of the court to subsidize. But I think we're going to, I would prefer that we look at the extent of a long-term subsidy when we get our space allocation study back.
But first of all, you did keep dealing with apples and oranges. Did this museum borrow from Dallas County? Did we bridge them dollars?
Over the years, we've allowed them to borrow from us 2 different times, and they've repaid us both times early.
Exactly.
And how much have you just spent on capital improvements on the parking lot as well as the building?
That's a bit. Over $1 million in preparation for the 50th.
Well,
So we are a community asset, and all the money that we spend goes right back into the Dallas community, so we have significant economic impact.
Oh, absolutely. You talked 350,000, and in the past it's been larger numbers than that, over 400 to 500,000 people.
So we do not cost Dallas
in
County.
this area. Yeah, that's huge.
but you have a different competition now with regards to museums.
We do, and we have not been able to make the investments in redoing our exhibit spaces on the 6th and 7th floors. So most museums of our caliber have, who are younger than us, have had a great deal more investment from the local community, and we hope that this was an opportunity to change that.
And when we say, and I respect people's opinions, and opinions can differ, but as we look at spending money to retrofit the Records Building, we're doing that because we need space, and we need space better allocated. So when we lease space, and I agree, you're a wonderful community asset. The 6th floor is a wonderful community asset, and I want it to thrive and stay there. But when we lease 37,000 square feet that we could use for, we're leasing them, what, 33,000? What is it, 33,000? So if we lease 33,000 for about 30-something% of market value, then that does cost Dallas County ultimately, because we spend money it cost us money to redo the records building, to do all these things, or if we choose to go rent space like we're doing now at Thanksgiving Tower, it does cost us, I want to keep you there, but it does cost us money when we have one museum taking up thousands of feet of old, many tens of thousands of feet of old red, and another taking up 33,000 square feet here, and we want to keep them there. If they're not paying market rate rent, and we're still having to go out and build new buildings to house the government workers that provide essential services, it ultimately does cost us money. It is a subsidy. Money's finite. When we spend money on museums or anything else, that's money we don't have to spend on something else, and that's why I want to have that discussion.
Let me just say this. First of all, we wouldn't have had the sixth floor space if the sixth floor hadn't been here. That wouldn't have been constructed. And we're never going to use that space for county purposes. It was never intended to be used for county purposes. Exactly. So, to me, that's all a ruse. I mean, some people are willing to spend money on lawsuits that we don't belong in and a whole bunch of other stuff. So when you can't be selective on when you want to start saving money,
The
Judge.
uniqueness of this situation is one that has to be respected.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing,
Absolutely.
Josh, and you and I talk about this, is the fact that, we've been partners for a long time. And, the fact that I don't want to jeopardize the museum's, current and future funding by, going ahead and say, hey, you have money. Even when you keep saying profit, they are a non-profit. They reinvest most of the funds in the exhibits that they currently have. And the other thing in this contract, and I know I have talked to Ms. Langford and to you, Josh, as well, is that we can always renegotiate if the space utilization study comes out that we have those 10,000 additional feet that we think we can have at the records building, and the current utilizers of the building doesn't need it. Trust me, Ms. Langford, I would love for the sixth floor museum to have this building, but we don't know that, Josh. And to make an economic decision that impacts one of our crown jewels and partners within the building, it gives me heartburn. I would love to tell you that at this point I'm ready to give 1 year, but if that affects the museum's operation, and I just can't support it. This is not only something that is close to our partners, but that we can solve. I want to be sure that those bridges, in case that we need to negotiate in the future, a different contract are open, and as I understand, Mr. Martin, Mr. Roden, this contract allows that, right?
It does. Mutual agreement by both parties, we can open it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Thank you, colleagues.
And I think we discussed this. I'll abstain from this because this amounts to about a $5 million subsidy over 15 years. I agree that we can renegotiate, but only on terms that are more favorable to the museum than the 15-year deal that the court is poised to give them today. There's no reason for the museum to open renegotiations with you in ways that are not more favorable to them. But if it's understanding the extent of the subsidy, understanding the court's will, we can take a vote on that.
Okay, I'm ready. Call the question. Call the question.
All right, the question has been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstaining? And I abstain for the reasons set forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this takes us to court order number 24. Is there a motion on court order number 24?
Hold on. You're going to move a second, since I'm already doing it.
You let us know, Ms. Honey.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
24, 23.
24.
This is 24.
24.
You're doing 24? Yeah, 23 is
23 is going to
executive
executive session.
Okay, so it's 24.
Oh, and on 20, will somebody move it yet?
And she's
No, I'm
getting
about
ready
to
to.
move it.
She's
Once
waiting.
We have
I- I
speakers on
see.
that,
We
so
know.
after you
We know.
move it, that was.
Okay, I'm ready for you to move.
Okay.
Okay, I move approval for court order number 24.
And I'll second it since I'm already doing it. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, well, I'm doing it. I've been doing
Well,
it.
we have some speakers.
And we have some speakers on this. Our first speaker is Representative Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson, Representative Eric Johnson. He appears to not be here. Our second speaker is Miss Gloria Smith. Miss Gloria Smith. Oh, hello.
Good morning. I'm Gloria Smith, and I am representing the Dallas County Community College District. And on behalf of Dr. Joe May, Dr. Garza, and Dr. Adamas from El Centro College and Mountain View Colleges.
Give your address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My address is 604 Elm Falls Place, Mesquite, Texas, 75181. Okay. On behalf of Dr. May and Dr. Garza and Dr. Adamas and the Dallas Community College District, we would like to thank Dr. Garza for...
Sounds familiar, but it's Garcia. Yeah.
I'm sorry, for leading the charge to pass this important policy change in Dallas County hiring practices. The measures you implement today will give students in our jail education program and ex-offenders attending workforce training and seeking degrees on our campuses the ability to participate in a competitive hiring practice that allows employers to evaluate them based upon their earned credentials, skills, and abilities. We look forward to continuing our work with the jail education program initiatives here in Dallas County, which provide these offenders with workforce training skills needed to secure sustainable employment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Judge, you also have written testimony to submit for the record from Mr. Jarvis,
Yes,
right?
please do. So bring that up. And this is written testimony. I'll read it. Here we are. So we have written testimony from Mr. Jarvis. Right, and I won't read that in the record, but I'm just saying for the record that we received written testimony from Mr. Jarvis Wright of the southeastern part of Dallas. So thank you, Mr. Wright, for your written testimony as well. And just for the record, all the commissioners have a copy of the written testimony. Are there any comments on this initiative?
Yes, Judge, I have some questions
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to ask. First of all, like Commissioner Price said, if you go back and I'm not sure, Mr. Graham, why you didn't include our current policy in the briefing, because if you go back and look at it, it specifically says criminal history or convictions, and this is done back in 2002, revised in 2007, revised in 2009. In accordance with applicable laws, background checks for criminal convictions shall be conducted. A criminal history may not automatically disqualify an applicant for employment, as each situation will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis utilizing the factors outlined in the section below. And we go through and we list all the factors that you in fact put in one of your attachments. So it's kind of like a recodification of our already existing rules.
Yeah, that's
So really, and if you go and you look at it, if you look at attachment B and attachment E, attachment B are the questions that you're going to ban the box on. That's what you're calling ban the box.
Remove, yes.
Okay. And then you're going to have them sign a specific questionnaire once they're a final applicant, correct? And you're adding all those questions back in. Every single one of them, exactly like they were written before.
The ban box concept is not to actually remove all the questions, it's to delay it in the process.
Well, that's what I was fixing to say. With full transparency, it'd be delay the box, because you're not eliminating anything. And I just want to make sure that we're very transparent to people when they fill out this application, because we've been hiring people with criminal convictions since 2002.
That's right.
So, yes, I understand, it's part of a sweeping the nation to ban the box and that kind of stuff.
One of the things it does, though, is that some people may lose and may not even
Right.
possibly go they hit that.
Well-
They think that they think they're going to be eliminated because of that.
But it says on our application, if you answer yes to any of these questions,
Right.
you will not automatically be barred from employment. Okay? But that's, okay, so that's my comment. But let me ask a question, because my concern with this is the administration of it. We have approximately 6,400 people, employees in Dallas County.
That's
And the
correct.
largest majority of that is taken up through law enforcement and juvenile.
Right.
Yes, juvenile and
2,500 on one,
sheriff department has the
1,000 on
most.
the other.
Right, okay, so.
3,500.
And then there's certain people in the tax office, well, let me ask this, are we going to have separate applications for every single position?
Separate, you mean,
A different application for every position?
no, there's not going to be a different application for every position. For the job posting, the selected job posting, since we post jobs by position, we'll have those disclaimers on there about background checks, or will be required to have a background check, will not be required to have a background check, or later in
So
the
there's
process.
certain-
Because we post positions individually.
There's certain, well, right now we have one application, correct, that people fill out?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so now you're fixing to have.
And we still have the actual, it's the assessment component of, the application won't change, it's the assessment component based on our recruitment system that will be changed. Those will be different templates. But the actual application itself, those questions are actually on an assessment template. It's not really part of the application.
Your assessment and application are the same thing, is that correct?
No.
Okay.
The assessment is where the questions are at. Those are the additional questions that we ask in conjunction to. The application basically has the qualifications of a person's work experience and all that. The assessment is where the criminal background check and all those other questions come into play. And that's what we'll be modifying.
Okay, so you had somebody fill out an assessment and an application?
This is still part of the whole process, yes. They fill out their qualifications.
So you have a different assessment for every position?
Right. We currently have that now. It lists the qualifications
Okay.
of every position that we have, in addition to the on the qualifications, that assessment lists about 6 or 8 questions that deals with criminal background checks.
Right, and how many pages is your assessment?
It's just 21 questions, basically.
3 pages?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to go through, okay, so if I understand correctly, if you're in law enforcement, you're going to have a certain application.
We have that now. We have a different application for law enforcement.
Okay.
It has minimal question 21.
Okay, because they go through a different criminal background search.
That's correct.
Okay, but then you also have the you have the tax assessor collector. Okay, so that's a position involving money that you're going to have a different, so you have different positions in that office?
Right. Basically, the way we envision the work, and we've actually talked with IT, who deals with the recruitment process, is we'll create assessment templates, and based on those templates, they'll be tied to the job application. So based on the position, that template would be tied to it as far as asking those questions or not. The qualifications we'll always ask the qualifications, but as far as asking the background check up front would be determined by the survey from the department, who will let us know which positions we should ask these questions up front or delay asking these questions, and the template that will be attached to it.
Well, you also said that you're going to survey each department to find out their current hiring policies.
Related to people with records, yes.
Right. So, is that really what you're going to do?
Yes, and this won't be a 2 or 3 week process. It's going to take several months. And
I
it's
understand,
going to
but
be,
shouldn't it be more of a legal process? In other words, if they're going to, even under a current policy that we have right now, if they're going to disqualify someone, shouldn't there be a legal basis for that disqualification?
yes, when people are qualified or disqualified based on their background check, they typically will talk with HR, and we need help from civil. We also we bring that to civil DA's attention. We do that now for certain positions. When people have certain things in their background that will disqualify them, may disqualify them, they typically we will let the department know, because we do the background checks, and they will let us know if that in fact will, disqualify them for that position.
And in your opinion, as the head of HR on a practical basis right now, that's not going to increase more liability for Dallas County?
Well, I wouldn't think it would increase more liability for Dallas County, because, again, like, as you pointed out, we currently really do that process now. It's just being delayed a little. It might be a little more time on our end as far as someone going through the application process, and later on we've determined this person has the best skills, and then we do the background check and find out, well, for an example, this person has staff that we're going to be dealing with cash, and we say, well, they're no longer qualified. It might delay that process a little bit, but as far as liability, we do criminal background checks already on everybody. So
you're going to continue to do those?
Oh, yes, we're going to continue to do this one.
Not on every applicant. Anyone that's going to be offered a position, you're going to do a background.
Right, because we're not actually totally removing those questions. It's the process when we'll ask those questions, right? Because the key is to get those people into the door. They can't get into the door now either through self-selection. They'll automatically say, since they ask these questions, I'm not even going to apply, or truthfully, managers will sometime, because we get over 100,000 applications a year. So what happens is the managers will have the top 20, and they going through them. They might see things that dealing with convictions, something they don't want to worry about, because they got 20 or 30 other qualified applicants. They'll move forward and delay. So hopefully having these questions at the back end will delay. Excuse me?
Some have made it through the door.
Oh, yes.
A lot have made it through
the door. We've had a few make it through the door. This will only enhance the program.
Right, I understand. Okay.
Do you have any idea how many?
In the sample.
Yes, the example I gave in the briefing is I randomly sampled about, over the last 6 months, I randomly sampled 100 of the people we actually hired, and I think 8 or 9 of those actually had checked other than a minor traffic violation. We had actually hired them. So I think that number is kind of high, because that's usually during this time of the year when we hire most of our employees, but I think we'll have on average probably 5-6%.
Thank you.
I'm going to vote in favor of this today because it is only delaying when the questions are asked. It's not banning the questions. The questions continue to be asked, the backgrounds continue to be run, and if it's a safety-sensitive position in any of those items that we've listed in our current policy now, then that person is not eligible for that position. Only for those positions that are not safety-sensitive or deal with
Right.
elderly,
Yes. Positions that basically, again, safety sensitive, deal with children, adults, those typically positions that will not be.
1,000 positions at the county or less.
Yes.
I agree with Commissioner Cantrell's assessment that this is delaying the box, and this is something, I think this is great, and I want to commend Dr. Garcia and you, Ermit, and everyone who worked on this. I actually lobbied the legislature and went to see different members of the legislature for Eric Johnson's bill on this, and I called it delay the box because it is worrisome to people that when they hear ban the box, they think we're saying ban the question. And what we're saying is it might be helpful for people in the business community to think of this as a business process, like automating a plant or like moving around where the salad bar is in a restaurant. Here's what we've learned. We've learned that when you have a box on the front of an employment application that asks if you have ever been convicted of a felony, it has a quelling effect, and it leads to less people applying for jobs and a less robust pool of job applicants. We've learned not that anyone up on this stage would do it, or not that anyone in this audience today would do it, but we've learned that mid-level managers will look for certain disqualifiers. Maybe in some instances it'll be a certain educational level. Many times it will be whether or not someone checks a box on criminal history, that they'll just knock out some of the resumes to make their job of culling that down for in-person interviews easier. And we've talked about, Messina did a good job today in her or Ms. Madsen did a good job today in her presentation of why we need to look at criminal justice matters differently. We've said before, and but it's worth repeating, that America incarcerates more of our people by percent than China and Russia, and that's just wrong. And our police have gone out and taken several generations of predominantly young men of color between the ages of 18 and 26 through a policy that was not because the police have some conspiracy, but a policy that was sent down from policymakers that led to an 800% increase in our federal jails, and I don't know what the percent increase was, but it was dramatic in our state penitentiaries. And we're digging out from what we've done as policymakers in the 80s and 90s and 2000s to our communities. And this helps us dig out from those communities as well as best practices that we know works, because conservative and liberal cities all over the country and counties all over the country have done it. And the Koch brothers, who are the biggest funders of the Republican Party, are doing it. AT&T, I think, is doing it. I think General Motors is doing it. It's working, and it's helping companies, and it's helping communities. And I was so impressed with your briefing, Irma. I was asked to go to the White House on Friday, and we talked about, one of the things meetings I had was with a guy named Roy Austin. Roy is the head guy for civil rights and justice reform for the president. And he's kind of like the Bear Bryant of justice reform. He never says good job or anything like that. He asked me over the weekend to send your briefing. I did send it to him yesterday, and he actually did reply back, "This looks really good," which for him is like saying you're a rock star, Irma. So great. I think it's a great briefing, and I'm very glad that we're doing it. I think it's great that we've got people that have hired in the past. I know in my office we've done a looking at things on a case-by-case basis for these things, and also for board appointments. I've got several former offenders that serve on a board for me and are some of the best board members that we have on that board.
And the best employees as well, Judge. And I want to thank Commissioner Control for his assessment as well as yours. You are right. I mean, it takes people working together to come with the solutions that we really need to do in Dallas County. You call it skip the box, delay the box, or ban the box, like we call it. The reality is, at the end, it has the same purpose. And I want to especially thank, obviously, Mr. Martin Gordon-Heichel and his staff, our interim director of HR, Mr. Graham, for getting together with me and really putting up with me with all the information, and then organizing it the way you did it, Mr. Graham, because it's exactly what we were thinking. It will express the whole vision of how we want the process to work. And of course, it couldn't happen without a lot of people that I have the opportunity to work over the years, and that is Ms. Yolanda Lara, our Sheriff Department Inmate Program Director, and Christina Milton Crane, which also serves as Unlocking Doors Director and the CJAP's Reentry Subcommittee. Hearing about the problem that we have, colleagues, this just makes sense. And we have very positive, talking about transparency, about going twice a month meetings. I have to tell you, this was out 11/3, and Organized Justice, I believe, put it on their website. We didn't have one single negative comment, in the last 2 weeks that this has been out. And I want to thank you all for sending us that list of comments to all of us. It's been very interesting to say and to see at what point almost everyone has been touched by the correctional system and department. So, and the reason I brought this up, colleagues, is that, Dallas County does have a current policy that in the past has been informal. The reality is the box is there, as Mr. Ermit say, and that discouraged a lot of people to go through a process. And this is not just good social policy, this is also good economic policy. We were just talking on our last commissioners meeting, Dallas County releases from 500 to 600 ex-offenders into the county every month. Of those, you know, the stat says, I mean, put more or less, but it's about that number. Of that, 46%, you know, come back into the system within 2 or 3 years. And why is that? Because the main form of support is finding a job. And if you cannot find a job, well, hey, you know, if you really do some of the cost, you know, we talk about this all the time. A cost per inmate to date in our Dallas County Jail is about $62.50 a day. If you just multiply, well, Commissioner Price says 68, you know, we really have an approximation of how much it will cost if you just have of those 3,000 people, you know, that come back into the system. You know, we're talking about serious amount of money, not to mention what it costs into the system prison. With this policy, I believe we're giving people an opportunity to successfully reintegrate. If you can support yourself, if you can have a chance to get a job, a paycheck, support your family, you know, live a productive life, stay out of the system, hey, that's a win-win situation for all the taxpayers of Dallas County. And that's exactly what this is. This policy gives ex-offenders the opportunity to succeed. And, you know, Commissioner Cantrell put very well, you know, a reassurance that everyone that goes through the process still will have a background check. All the applicants, and not all the departments will qualify, you know, for hiring ex-offenders. Some of them have a specific guidelines about this, but it will not apply to all. And since some of them, you know, will have that opportunity, I believe this is an important step forward, making it, you know, part of Dallas County. The fact that we are open to hire anyone based on their qualifications and merit. And let's not forget, colleagues, that most of these individuals have paid their debt to society. They deserve an opportunity to re-enter a community with dignity, with a paycheck and a job. And Dallas County is ready to do that for them. So thank you to everybody that helped in this process, to everybody that joined, you know, in the input, and everybody that is here, and of course to Representative Johnson, you know, for his continued support. Ms. Lara, I know you're here. Thank you so much. And with that, I already...
Just one quick question.
Sure.
From Mr. Graham, just to get it on the record. You're delaying the question on all of those positions that are not safety sensitive, where they interact with the public, children, elderly, or handicapped, dealing with dollars or driving.
Yes, because we will continue to do the background check, just the delay process.
But you'll continue to have the questions on all of those assessment, the application or the assessment, correct?
So, I'm sorry, repeat that?
Well,
basically, we'll continue to ask the questions on the ones that you mentioned. They'll be up front. Up front, right?
They'll be up front.
Because yes, that's a requirement.
Aren't those?
Right.
It'll be at the back.
And maybe we'll call this a fair chance policy instead of ban the box. That's a better alternative.
You know, again, this is not new. And as I said, in 2002, we did this. We recodified it in 2007. And if you'll recall, some of us got into discussions with individuals in terms of the so-called liability, talk about safety-sensitive position. Some of us have hired them and underfilled the position, regardless of the background, underfill it so they can get the skills. Everyone keeps talking about, you know, being able to apply. Most of those individuals, whether it's the 500 returning each month from the Texas Department of Correction, who some may or may not have a housing plan, have skill sets. And when the lady from Dallas County Community College, that's really the issue. And so a lot of us not only have banned the box, delayed the box for formerly incarcerated individuals, we've underfilled those positions. And we underfill them so that we give them up to a year to try to acquire some of those skills so that we can get them into the position. So, while the box sounds,
Well, I agree with you, Commissioner. I mean, it's going to take all of us. Like Ms. Smith says, Dallas County Community College District is doing their best. Yolanda Lara at the jail, they have programs, to, be sure that when they get out of jail, they have some sets of skills. I totally agree with you on that. But in the meantime, you get out and then what? We get you back in the same neighborhood, in the same location with no money. What is going to happen? I mean, obviously, your 46% chance to come back into the system is clear and there. So I think this gives the opportunity. I hope that media-wise, gets out into the community that, hey, don't give up. I mean, one of the stories that was run on TV, a gentleman took 7 to 9 years to find a job because of a criminal past after he already served his sentence. That's not fair. It's not right. And I think today we're doing it right.
Okay, call the question.
We've also had a request from Kelvin Bass, legislative aide to Senator Royce West, who I see in the audience. He'd like to address the court on this issue momentarily with the court's indulgence. Under our rules, that requires a unanimous rule or unanimous consent of the court. Is it the will of the court to allow Mr. Bass a moment to address the court?
No.
Yes.
Of course, Mr. Bass. Actually, I just want to say, while he's coming down, I'm sorry I didn't see you, Mr. Bass, over here, but, State Senator West, has been instrumental in the reentry program for many years, and they sent some very good recommendations that we forward to the HR department. Good to see you, Mr. Bass.
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Dr. Garcia, for bringing this to our attention. Commissioner Garcia actually called the office to inform Senator West that she was placing this item on the agenda a few weeks ago, and of course I notified him. And Commissioner, you are correct in that Senator West has advocated for this type of policy. I've been with him for 16 years, so at least 16 years and a day, because when he brought me on, it was to work at this type of policy, and we have long worked on this issue along with dealing with criminal history records, which in Texas serves to disenfranchise people from the workforce. I want to look at it from another perspective, though, in applauding the court in moving forward in consideration of this. When a person cannot work, while that person does not have a legitimate or substantiated or documented income, some type of way, everybody has to eat, everybody has to have shelter. But what we also need to consider, you as a policy-making body, is that someone is paying for them. They show up at Parkland, uncompensated care. They show up on the social service rolls all over the state. They show up Health and Human Services through aid. So at some point, it really does not do anyone good from a societal standpoint to disenfranchise a person who is willing to work from the workforce. And I applaud the court. And the note that I passed to Commissioner Garcia is that this extends now. I see this every day because I get these calls at the office. This is extended beyond convictions, but also just to the appearance of a criminal offense on the record, because under Texas law, there is very little that can be done short of a pardon to eliminate a conviction. But those criminal charges also show up, and we've worked in that area also in creating orders of non-disclosure and the ability to seal records. So again, thank you for your consideration of this, and I will certainly relay this information to Senator West.
Thank you for being part of we've worked for the last several years, the whole reentry program, and you chair that as we talk about those individuals coming back into Dallas County. He chairs the community partnership along with the Texas. The council.
Commissioner Garcia came and spoke at a job fair we had last year at their organization. You have also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Bass. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mr.
Regards to
Bass.
Senator West.
And all those in favor of what we have now established as a glorious program? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. We have no items on our discussion session for today. Normally would be the time that we would hear, normally would be the time that we would hear from our public speakers. However, we have a matter, number 23, that's been pulled to our closed session. We're going to go into closed session, knock out our closed session, and that should take, 10 minutes, Daryl? And be able to come out and dispense with 23 and then hear from our public speakers. And let me say this before we go into closed session for the record. We're recessed for closed session to consider matters under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as previously posted. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in a subsequent open session, namely the one that we're about to have. Thanks.
those matters which were appropriate, no decision having been made. And we will now deal with the speakers. I guess you're going to have to read the rules again for our speakers.
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. James Don. Mr. James Don. Mr. James Don. Mr. David Sullivan. Mr. David Sullivan. Mr. David Sullivan. Mr. Richard Sheridan. I'm sorry, I did say that.
I appreciate being here, Commissioners. Richard Sheridan, 11301 Dennis Road, Dallas, Texas. On August month for some dramatic effect. I'm here to speak about Dallas, the City of Dallas plans to sicken and blight the West Dallas community with the polluting Argos cement plant. I quote something from the U.S. Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health. Cement dust causes lung function impairment, chronic obstructive lung disease, restrictive lung disease, can't pronounce that word, carcinoma of the lungs, stomach, and colon. Some studies have shown cement dust may enter the systematic circulation and thereby reach essentially all the organs of the body, etc. Cement dust is not good, especially when it's next to a school in the middle of a minority community. Did our Dallas Mayor and City Council know about the negative health effects of the air pollution from the Argos cement plant when they recently voted to give Argos Corporation $3 million in Dallas tax money to relocate their plant from the south end of the Calatrava Bridge, where there are major plans to develop this once industrial area into a high-end condos, restaurant, and a hotel, to a location next to the Thomas Edison School and in the middle of the West Dallas Hispanic Black community at the intersection of Westmoreland and Singleton Boulevard. Obviously, the cement dust spewed into the air will be unacceptable to the restaurant goers. They're already complaining about the dust on the cars, future condo owners, and the future hotel guests. The history of West Dallas is one of being a dumping ground, a place to dump garbage, a place of polluting industrial plants and neighborhoods with poor Hispanic and Black people. You see the GAF plant is still there. The most notorious industrial polluter was the RSR smelter. From 1930 until 82, it spewed out its poison for years. And the EPA has yet to address the human health aspect of that situation. According to Otis Fagan, 11,000 people have died. 12,000 people are still sick from the lead poisoning. Louis Sepulveda has been before you. William Hawkins has been before you many times. And Gwen Rooten, God bless her soul, has been before you, and I believe she died from lead poisoning. So, to many of the residents of West Dallas and to its community leaders, this is a most significant moment in Dallas history where money over life prevail again as with the RSR lead smelter. Or will we finally follow the great words of our U.S. Constitution and provide through our elected officials life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all races, colors, and creeds in Dallas County? I pray our commissioners and judge do the right thing, whatever you can do to stop this relocation. It could be relocated to a much better place. And serve the interests of all, not just Dallas special moneyed interests, which has ruled Dallas way too long. And thank you very much.
Mrs. Francis Rizzo.
Thank you, Commissioner Price. It's Ms. Rizzo.
Ms. Rizzo.
Thank you. Commissioners Court, good morning, buenos dias. I come before you, I'm sorry, 603 Woodhaven Boulevard, Duncanville, 75116. I come before you not just as an individual citizen of Dallas County. I was born and raised in Dallas. I've lived in Dallas County all of my life. However, this morning I'm here as one of the presenters from the West Dallas Coalition against the relocation of a cement plant into Central West Dallas that has been voted on by the City Council of Dallas. Why am I coming to you, the County Commissioners Court, for several different reasons? The Coalition Against the Relocation of the Argo Cement Plant does condemn the action of the City Council. We oppose the relocation. The community opposes this relocation and has worked with West Dallas One, which is a coalition of neighborhood associations in West Dallas, against the effort. The coalition currently consists of not only the West Dallas One of the neighborhood associations in West Dallas, but also Dallas County Tejano Democrats, of which I am chair, League of United Latin American Citizens, not only this district, but it's going to be taken to state and national, as it will be taken to the State Tejano Democrats organization. The Homestead Neighborhood Association, Gilbert Emery Neighborhood Association, Vecinos Unidos, and Voice of Hope, along with others outside of West Dallas that have come together to stand with West Dallas. The proposed cement plant, as you know by now, is to be built right behind the Thomas Edison Middle School. That used to be the Dallas Environmental Sciences Academy and had to be shut down because of all the pollution and the terrible condition that the building has been in and continues to be in even after it's been worked on. That academy has been moved to the prior Sequoia Middle School, which is in the same neighborhood. And that program, ironically, is about the environment and science. So we're going to continue subjecting West Dallas and that science academy to the same conditions. Now, it's going to be on top of a hill. So this dust, no matter how safe they say it's going to be, it will blow out dust. And if there is some kind of an accident, it won't affect just West Dallas. If the wind blows north, it will blow into the hospital district, the Children's Medical Hospital, Parkland, UT Southwestern. If the wind blows to the south, it will affect Stevens Park. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of your neighborhood, Dr. Garcia, Kessler Park. And of course, churches and schools and parks that we work so hard to accommodate residents for. Our County Director of Health and Human Services, Mr. Zachary Thompson, is well aware of this issue. We've approached him to hopefully meet with us because we're requesting of you, the Commissioners Court, to conduct a round of testing for health, soil, and air in West Dallas as it currently exists. Several residents have come to us with illnesses logically linked.
I need you to wrap.
Yes, I'm closing. I'm in the last sentence. Children that attended the Edison School when it was the Environmental Academy also developed illnesses such as asthma and other breathing difficulties, and we'd follow up health studies. Any and all the Commissioners Court, individually and collectively, may do is earnestly encouraged. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. Ms. Peggy Houghton. Ms. Peggy Houghton. Ms. Peggy Houghton. Mr. William Hopkins.
My name is William Hopkins. Judge Jenkins, he's not here. The last time I spoke at the city, Merle Rollins, he had the city council on a Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning. So he could do like Judge Jenkins, so they could, like go in the back, and so the blacks would die, and that way they could say they don't know, I don't know what y'all doing. Merle Rollins said they had a planning group with, it's Merle Rollins, Judge Jenkins, and the superintendent. and they was going to get paid by private donations. I come here to ask Judge Jenkins where them private donations was going to come from Russell Bud, Dorothy Bud, Lisa Blue, the Fred Byron and Bud law firm, Roger Staubach. You know, he the one going to have them hotels right there where this concrete plant going to move to. I was wondering if these people was the people that's going to fund Judge Jenkins and Merrill Rollins and the superintendent with this planning group they just all of a sudden come up with. And I wondered was Fred Byron and Bud law firm was going to fund the money through this planning group that Judge Jenkins them had. That's why I come here to ask him, but some kind of way he didn't come back out. Merrill Rollins didn't come back out. The people dying in West Dallas. I've been saying this since 1997. I went to the FBI in the West End. In 1997, I told the FBI that Fred Byron and Bud and Russell Bud and Dorothy Bud and Lisa Blue, that they had the people to come to the Boys Club in '95 and get some money. It was corrupt. And had the minister to come and had the people to sign fraud papers. And the city sued. And the city of Dallas sued the RSR lead smelter and kept the money and gave it to the white people so they could move. The Dallas Housing Authority had white people. The city and the county and the state moved the white people. Laura Miller husband worked for Fred Byron and Bud law firm. Steve Willard worked for the law firm. And the city and the state sued. And Steve Willard, by him being the state representative, helped the Fred Byron and Bud law firm steal the money from the people. And they're using it with this land bank in West Dallas. Russell Bud is in the county and the city is tied to this land bank where y'all funding the money. The FBI already know. Y'all funding the money through this land bank, using the money that Fred Byron and Russell Bud them stole from the people at the Boys Club and in a hotel. They told me there was a lawsuit. It wasn't no lawsuit, the lead lawsuit. It was handled in a hotel and in the Boys Club, and John, you was at the Boys Club with the minister, Reverend Spears. You and Pat Spears was at the Boys Club when they and the FBI won't do nothing and find out what happened with them people money in West Dallas. Thank you.
Ronnie Mesbah.
Mesbas.
Mesbas. Mesbas. Okay. Mr. Ronnie Mesbas. Okay.
Good morning. It's still morning, so good morning to everybody. And Dr. Garcia, thank you again for all your support in West Dallas with our students and residents and our veterans and some of the events that we've asked you last minute support. So thank you. I'm Ronnie Mestas, 3215 Rhett Street, West Dallas, 75212, and I'm the president of an alliance of neighborhood leaders, and we oppose this relocation of this cement plant. And the relocation of it is not the issue, it's the relocation of it in the center of West Dallas. It's right behind Thomas Edison, where I was a classmate of Judge Sepulveda at Edison back in the day, and he continued that battle with his family. So we're here today, or I'm here today, to ask your support, even if you may not think it's part of your district or any part of your area of expertise, but to get into conversation with the city, because the lack of communication between the city and DISD in this relocation is just mind-boggling. But again, the more people, the more partners that are working together on this issue, as Ms. Garcia, or Dr. Garcia has said, you get something accomplished, and we can get this thing relocated where it belongs, out, away from our neighborhoods, away from our students. Again, that's the support we're asking, and I wrote something down, but it doesn't really need writing or a script, because to ask your support is just to come straight up and ask you, we'll see that, talk is cheap, the action, it speaks louder than words. So we'll see if we get any involvement or concern. It's like the concern for the people that are coming to this area, refugees and all these other people that are moving to the area, and children from different countries. We want that same concern for our residents in West Dallas, even more so, because they're suffering right now. They've been suffering for decades. The PTSD is normally associated with military, but our community has been suffering from PTSD of that lead contamination for decades, since the 50s and 60s, even up to now. There's still, you talk about it and people are, have stories about family members. My own grandmother died of cancer, and I couldn't even pronounce the name of the cancer. And it's just unbelievable how this continues. When you take a couple of steps forward in the development, and when you see nice things coming to our area, and we want that nice stuff, but at what cost? Is it going to cost us our community, our children, our families? So again, we want that support, because there's a line where enough is enough, and right now we're over enough. So I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mesper. Mr. Keith Coleman.
Yes, my name is Keith Coleman, and I want to request that Judge Lewis come back to the podium so I can speak.
He's gone.
He's gone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, what I need to say, I need to say before Judge.
Okay.
Because
then,
he need to act upon.
Then you're welcome to come back in 2 weeks.
Well, I'm going to go and say it, I'll come back still. I'll come
Sir?
back. I'm going to go on and say what I'm going to say, because I've been sitting there so long, but I'm going to come back so I can speak before the judge, so he can act upon what I'm going to say.
Sure. I mean, you're welcome. As long as you don't speak, you're welcome to come back in 2 weeks.
Okay, if I don't speak, I can come back in 2 weeks.
Well, yeah. I mean, then you go into the cycle if you speak. I mean.
And then how long can I come back before? If I speak today, how long would it be before I can come back?
You'll be with 1 month. You can come back.
Well, that'll be fine. Okay. My deal is,
give your address for the record, Mr.
Okay. I use my P.O. Box 3865, Cedar Hill, Texas, 75106.
Okay.
My deal is, I had a place of business in Dallas, Lancaster, was a Cedar Canyon Dude Ranch, and I was wrongfully evicted from my place of business, which was 2010, and this has created a very hardship in my life, in my family life. I hired some attorneys to represent me, and some reason or another they crossed me out. We came up with the checks to prove that the rent was paid. It was a wrongful eviction, and through the work of the attorneys and the judges working together, for some reason or another, they have put judgments against me. I have all the evidence to prove my case, and all the wrongdoing has been put against me, with the proof sitting in the court dockets showing that I'm correct about everything I've been saying, but some way or another I can't get it through because of the attorneys I hire. For some reason, again, they cross me. The judge in the probate court, number 2, she had, when she was in her attorney capacity, she had worked on my case with the opposing side that I'm fighting against right now, and then this ended up in her courtroom, and then she, before I can get to my jury trial, she cancels my jury trial. But she's worked already against me to help them gain financial gain against me. So there's no way in the world she should be in court against me with these people, with these same group of people. So I have a problem with that there, and what I read in the judicial conduct deal is when I announced this in front of a judge, whatever judge hears this here, then he's supposed to act on this here against whoever has created the crime, and this is a conflict of interest and it's bias against me of having a fair trial to present my case correctly, So everything keep getting buried down, the truth keep getting buried down when it's right there in the dockets to read, but in procedures, you can't go back because my attorneys go to court without me. They don't tell me my court dates, and they make their deals inside the courtroom without me, and the next thing I know, I'm out with a judgment against me. I got 2 judgments against me right now. So, and I'm in probate court, so now I got to go back in and appeal, but I'm going to file for a new case and see if I can get this vacated, because again, it's wrong what's being done, but they're doing it, and I don't understand it. So the justice system supposed to work for us, and it's working against me, and I have my proof, and it's in the court docket, so it's nothing hid, but they say you can't go back after 30 days, and everything is for them and against the people that's fighting, you know what I'm saying? And that's no right in that. So I need this judge to hear what I'm saying so he can act upon it. And, something needs to happen different. But I'm going to go through the judicial conduct. I've been through the bar with my first attorney that signed the first judgment against me. He had the checks to present to the court, but he withheld the checks. And,
That's your time.
okay. Well, That's my guess.
Thank you, Mr. Conley.
Okay, so if somebody can tell me what I need to do.
Okay, thank you. Laura Jenkins, please. Ms. Laura Jenkins. Ms. Laura Jenkins. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm Laura Jenkins. Address is 8101 Canyon Oak Drive, North Richmond Hills. I seek justice for my 39-year-old son, Roy Adams Jr. He's been in jail for 10 years on a 12-and-a-half-year intoxication manslaughter sentence for the 2004 death of Grapevine police officer Darren Medlin. Been denied parole 4 times, 4 consecutive years. My son suffered an epilepsy seizure causing a horrific accident. You can read all about my son's case at justiceforroyjr.com. I've been here the last couple of times talking about responses I've received from the Department of Justice and FBI to our requests for assistance from those agencies. Today, I'm going to read you the first response, and this response came from Dallas FBI. Came from Peter R. Stoneham, and I think the other 2 references that I've made last couple of times actually stem from his investigation. He says, first of all, I sent them the information about the police officer turning off her tape and her testifying in court. He says to me in a page-and-a-half letter, I'm only going to give you a paragraph today, the FBI has no authority to conduct an investigation in the absence of an indication that a law within our investigative jurisdiction has been violated. Based on the information I provided, on the information you provided to the FBI, it cannot be determined if such a violation exists. Therefore, the FBI cannot be of assistance to your son. And just to remind everyone, from their website, the FBI says they're the lead agency for investigating violations of federal civil rights laws, and we take that responsibility seriously. Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under the color of law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution. Persons acting under the color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers. I'm going to read you the paragraph one more time, and then I'll end my time today. The FBI has no authority to conduct an investigation in the absence of an indication that a law within our investigative jurisdiction has been violated. Based on the information I provided to the FBI, it cannot be determined if such a violation exists. Therefore, the FBI cannot be of assistance to your son. Peter R. Stoneham, Supervisory Special Agent. You can read all about my son's case on justiceforroyjr.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Anne Marie Bristow.
I'm at Anne Marie Bristow, and I live at 82 Haynes Avenue in Dallas. And I have spoken to DSD and City Council, and now it's your turn. I've been working on thorough work with the 50 cottages for the homeless, and I'm very, very much in favor of it. Thank God they do something for that. But it made me think, we have all those portable school buildings empty. We have used ones, we paid for them in full, with money they're paid for. They have a $2,000 a year maintenance fee per unit, so they must be in excellent condition. And most certainly, if there is a stressful situation, if they're the homeless, not every homeless wants to be alone. They're families, homeless couples, and very, very easily could repurpose those buildings, and it saved us a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hector Flores.
Good morning. Buenas tardes. I'm Hector Flores, and I live at 1030 Tracy Avenue in Duncanville. I've been there for the last 30 years. And I'm here today representing LULAC. I am a former president of the organization at the national level. and my comments are opposed to the Argos plant relocation to West Dallas. Anybody that's lived in West Dallas, as long as I have, know the kind of crisis we were in with the lead smelter in that part of town. And this October the 28th, the city of Dallas voted 8-6 to underwrite the relocation of the concrete cement plant, known as Argos cement plant, from La Bajada Trinity Groves to West Dallas, next to Thomas Edison Middle School, at the cost of $3 million in taxpayer money to an industrial park. This is the same area where DISD will invest $135 million of taxpayer money for a new academic facility named the Pinkston Educational Complex. This relocation next to Edison, as was mentioned earlier by my colleague Francis Rizzo, used to house the environmental sciences or environmental studies program, but they moved it out because of the contamination and the condition of that building, taking it to Sequoia Middle School, where it's called the environmental sciences program. You can imagine that the children that are in those programs learning about the environments now are going to study themselves as to how contamination happens. We don't think that this is fair or right. You know, West Dallas has never recovered from the lead smelter crisis to date. On one hand, we have a government entity, the DISD, that's trying to uplift the economic vitality of that community with that $35 million infusion at Pinkston Educational Complex. This area has been under an EPA Superfund for the last 30 years, and in addition to high levels of lead still present in the soil, little or no effort has been made to address the health issues associated from lead exposure. The EPA declared this area a brown zone, pardon the pun. Talk about adding insult to injury. West Dallas taxpayers are being forced to pay for relocating a dirty industry into their neighborhoods that could negatively impact them and their children. Community economic development is being undermined by the city of Dallas with potential contamination. What a shameful episode again in the city of Dallas. The health and welfare of the minority community and the city again is being compromised again. Like it was previously with lead smelters, this community will again suffer additional years of horrendous health issues, and the property values could be destroyed and diminished, except a lot of growth going that way from Trinity Groves. Yes, people's economic base, their home ownership could be destroyed. This activity will not only jeopardize the health and the well-being of West Dallas, but also the surrounding communities, because depending on how the wind shifts up at high ground, it could impact Grand Prairie, Irving, and the entire city of Dallas. This is bad public policy.
Mr. Flores.
The entire geographic area will be negatively impacted as air currents take them. If the Argos cement plant is so safe, why not put it in the White Rock area or North Dallas, where most of the supporters of the project live? This is bad public policy. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. And that concludes our speakers. I know oftentimes we're asked, and I don't know if we're still streaming, that we can't respond, and most of the issues that come before us in the public forum is not issues about which we have any jurisdiction whatsoever. And that's just a comment that's not responsive. Is there anything else to come before this court?
I just want to recognize some of the people, some of our speakers that had, that are here, and of course the ones that couldn't speak, but I thought I saw Ms. Henson as well as Mr. Alex Garcia and other people that are involved in this issue. So thank you all for being here today.
Is there anything else to come before this court? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. This moved. Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.